students. Today we are going to start off with a letter to God, very first chapter from your book First Flight by J.L. Fluentus. Well, faith is like a Wi Fi. You cannot see it, but you can feel its presence and it can connect you to what you need. By saying these lines, I'm sure that I have given you little insight about the chapter. Yes, my dear students, we are talking about faith. The story, A Letter to God, is about unwavering faith of a farmer who lives in Latin American country and seeks God's help by writing a letter to him to help him in dire situation as he has lost his crop and his only survival and means to keep his family floating throughout the year. So let's go for the detailed explanation of the story. His house is the only in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From the height one could see river and the field of corn dotted with flowers that always promise a good harvest. The only thing that was needed was a good shower. Throughout the morning, Lanchu, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else. He was just looking up to the sky. Lanchu lived on a low hill. From there, a river and a ready to harvest cornfield were visible. The field belonged to Lencho. He had utmost confidence that harvest would reap good profits. Only things he was waiting was definitely rain. In his hope, he spent entire morning gazing at the sky in the northeast direction from where a drizzle was expected to shower on his field. Now, as he was looking up to the sky, and he could see some droplets of rain falling, he was extremely delighted. He was so happy that finally he was going to have the shower which he was looking for. But to his extreme surprise, the rainfall transformed into hailstorm, destroying his entire crop, and the damage posed threat to his family's survival as it was their only means of livelihood. Although disheartened, but Lencho had strong faith in God. He knew that God will definitely help him if nobody else will. So finally, he decides to write a letter to God and he wants to explain his whole situation to God. As writing letter, explaining his situation, he decides to post the letter. After posting the letter in town, a post office employee noticed the letter which is addressed to God. It is quite strange. He had never seen anything like this before. He passes it on to other post office employees who also have a hearty laughter. Come on, who writes letter to God? We have never seen anything like this before. After some time, postmaster of the post office gives it a thought and he thinks that what an immense faith this man is having in God. And he requests other post office employees also to contribute a small amount from their salary so that they can keep the faith of this simple man intact in God. Despite all of them contributing, they are able to collect only 70 pesos, which is short of 30 pesos Lencho demanded from God. And after collection of money is done, post office employees sign it as it is the amount given by God to Lencho. And once Lencho receives the envelope, he counts the money, and when he sees that it is short of 30 pesos, he gets very angry, and he's not at all surprised because he thinks that God will anyhow help him. And there is immediate mistrust in the employees of the post office. He thinks that God will have definitely sent him the whole amount, but these post office employees, whom he calls a bunch of crooks, have stolen his money. He immediately decides to write another letter to God. And in this letter, he mentions that God should not send money through post because these post office employees are dishonest and they have taken away his money. This depicts the disagreement between man and nature, where humans want the nature to act according to their aspirations. The strong divergence arises when Lencho starts doubting the honesty of post office employees who actually helped him with the money anonymously. This is the conflict among men themselves, wherein we are ready to trust in the idea of God's existence, but we are not ready to trust each other. This was the end of the chapter. Happy learning, students.